all relationships are transactional. Yes, I know that's going to trigger some people, and that's okay. A lot of people get really angry at this idea, and they want to think that true movie love exists and that true love can never be transactional. When Jay and I first met, I was 100% a Disney baby, meaning I believed the Disney kind of love and that relationships were not transactional because we were in love. But Jay has some very interesting perspectives and views on this. So let's go and ask Jay. So Jay, what does all relationships are transactional actually mean?
Great question, Cynthia.
You haven't used your announcer voice in so long. Yay.
Why don't we break it down together?
Oh my God.
Well, what's a transaction?
Oh, well, transaction is when you exchange goods for money.
So I can't trade somebody a hug for a smile?
I mean, I guess I wouldn't consider that really transactional.
Why not? I get a smile, they get a hug.
I don't know. I just never thought of that actually as being a transactional thing. To me, transactional is like money based or, like equal trade or like agenda driven. So I don't consider like a hug and a smile transactional.
What if a fly hangs around a hippo and keeps it clean of debris and stuff, and the hippo protects the fly so no predators come? Is that a transaction?
Well, I learned in school that that's a symbiotic relationship.
Sure. But are they not transacting? Like the symbiotic relationship forms because of the transaction.
Yeah, I was just showing off my science skills. But yes, you're kind of right. Actually, they're animals. So they're not saying you do this and I'll do this, but they develop that you do this, I'll do this. So I hadn't thought of it before, but yeah, that's transactional.
Well, if the flies weren't helping the hippo and they weren't keeping it clean or whatever, is the hippo going to tolerate the presence?
No.
Right. The hippo's going to get rid of them. Hello? What are you doing?
You used your cute Roy voice. Yeah, true. Yeah.
So their relationship is built on?
Transaction.
Right.
All right.
And with a boss and an employee, isn't there a transaction? The employee does some task or service or whatever, and the boss gives some funds and some life insurance or dental coverage or whatever. And now there's a boss-employee relationship built on.
Yeah, that's a transaction.
Right. And so why can't I trade a hug for a smile?
Well, when you say it like that, you can. You can. Like I said before, I never considered something like this a transaction, but
imagine two people meet at a bus stop. Imagine two people meet at a bus stop and they get to talking. And one says, "Oh, I'm a seamstress," and the other says, "Oh, my pants are fraying. It'd be so great if you could repair them, sew them."
Right.
And the seamstress says, "Oh, well, I'm pretty booked up, and I'm kind of busy, and I got a lot of things going on." And so they let it drop there. But eventually, it turns out that the seamstress needs car repairs, and the dude she was talking to is a mechanic. And so then he brings it up again and says, "Well, how about if I repair your car? It'll save you time driving around and commuting or whatever, and you'll have time to do my sewing." And she says, "Okay, that sounds fair. That's great. We both win. I love it." And she does the sewing and she repairs her car, and they end up liking each other, and the relationship develops more from there. And then the next weekend, she dresses up for him and gives him some eye candy, and he takes her out to dinner and gives her some food and resources. And now they feel even closer. And this sort of continues on with different exchanges and interactions and value exchanges until they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and then they get married. Okay. Is this not a relationship built on continual transactions?
I mean, yes. I never considered most of those things really a transaction till you pointed it out. But yes. I think that's the part that people don't like. Just the language of it, right?
Whatever. This isn't about what people like. This is about the truth and reality.
Yes.
And
yes.
If you're watching this podcast, like, you get triggered every episode. There's no way. Like, I say a million things people don't like.
No, I don't mean you saying it. I mean like online when anytime someone, so I do research and I researched this episode, like all of them, and on Reddit there is a subreddit of people who hate life, who are like, life sucks, love sucks, everything sucks. And there's a thread in there about love sucks because all love is transactional, right? And but it's a completely different from what you're saying, right? What you're saying is these things are transactional in a loving way, right? You guys are a symbiotic relationship, but it's never like the evilness put in. Like the people on that subreddit think that when you say transaction, that relationships are transactional, that there's some nefarious thing to it. I'm going to use this person and I want to get all I can from them and screw them. And so I think this definition is the most pervasive of what, when we say relationships are transactional, that people go to that kind of dark place is all I meant.
Sure. I'm just trying to answer your question. I don't really care if a million people in a subreddit are all clueless about the definition of a transaction. Like, they're welcome to be as confused as they want about any word they want. I don't care. Go be confused about every word. Be confused about money. Be confused about love. Be confused about politics. Be confused about voting. Like, be confused about symbiotic relationship. I like, if people can't understand basic words or can't follow the message I'm giving or something like that, like, what do I care?
Yeah, we don't care. So,
right. So
our message is for those who are paying attention and listening. Right. So my bad. I apologize.
All right. Well, whatever. My point is, everything in life is give and take. That's what a relationship is. When you relate to something, you have certain things that you are gaining or valuing in that thing. And the other thing has certain things that it benefits from you. And you guys have a relationship. And if either of you drop those values that are desired, the relationship will wither. So in our example, let's say they're married for a while, but the seamstress stops sewing. She gets sick of the hobby or career, and she also stops dressing up nice, and she like blimps up and gains a ton of weight. So she's not sewing. She's not eye candy. She's basically nothing like the woman he met.
Right.
So now one side of the relationship is not any longer holding up their side of the transaction. They're not providing the same values they used to.
Right.
They might say, well, I've changed, I've grown, I don't want to do this stuff anymore, yada, yada, yada. But it's totally within the mechanic's rights or totally within expected behavior from the mechanic to not want to be part of the relationship any longer.
Yeah, fair enough.
I married a seamstress who looked good. Now I have a non-seamstress who looks bad. This relationship's terrible. I want out.
Right.
And you can blame whoever you want and say, oh, he just cares about transactions or some shit like that. And it's like, whatever, man. Like, just like the hippo with the flies. If one of you drops your role or stops providing the value or doesn't hold up your end of the transaction, I got news for you. This can and will affect the relationship, and it should, because all relationships are transactional.
Right. Okay. Well, you defined it perfectly and answered my question. So thank you. I think you made it pretty clear. And yeah, you make it sound like it's a loving thing and a normal thing.
It is.
To do. Yes, I know. But surely a relationship between a parent and a child isn't or can't be transactional.
So if you've ever talked to a parent or even a prospective parent, you'll notice that they're getting tremendous value out of the child.
Right. For the most part. Yes.
Well, like, by and large. I mean, there can be poor transactions. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I'm just saying in general, the parent gets joy from the child and wants to spend time with the child, and it's a break from their career, and it's this and that, and it's helpful for this, and it puts things in a new light, and it gives them insights, and they learn so much about themselves by having a child, and they grow and they become great because of the child. And it's like if you're an intern at an office, maybe their office isn't paying you, but you're still gaining a lot of value.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Fair enough.
And if you're a parent, maybe the kid isn't paying you in money, but I feel like you're getting a ton of value.
Yeah, you are. You're growing and learning with your child.
Well, otherwise no one would do it.
Sure.
Nature would never set it up so there was nothing in it for you. Just the child benefits, but every parent's a write-off. Like, nature would never set it up like this.
Right. Well, I had 3, so surely I got something out of it too. Yeah.
Right. But if the child runs away from home and distances themselves emotionally, mentally, and physically, the relationship will wither because the value is no longer there. They're not getting value. The parent's not getting value anymore. The kid's not getting value anymore. Someone's not getting value anymore, and the transaction's falling apart. And so the relationship will wither because it was based on a transaction or multiple transactions in the first place.
Right. Well, so then if your relationships are withering and they're not doing well, then you're probably not holding up your end of the transaction.
Or the other person isn't, but somebody
Or the other, somebody isn't. Somebody isn't is what I mean, according to what you're saying. I just want to be clear.
Not according to what I'm saying, according to nature, life, the universe, and how all relationships work.
Yes, I know, but that's what you're saying. And so, like, I feel like you just gave the answer for divorce. Like,
yeah, I did it in the checkbox episode too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we talked. Yeah, definitely you did when we talked about the checkboxes and stuff. That was a really good episode.
Well, the checkboxes are just measuring the transactions.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah. With the seamstress, one checkbox was eye candy and being petite or whatever. And another checkbox was mend my clothing and be passionate about your career. And when she stops checking those boxes, the mechanic dude's like, yo, let me out.
Yeah, because in your example, those were the features that attracted him in the first place and wanted him to like spend more time with her.
Yeah, and more specifically, those were the values that were flowed in each transaction.
Right.
And if those values are removed and those transactions no longer happen, the relationship falls apart. So the checkboxes just measure the transactions.
Interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. Jay is dropping the answer to the divorce epidemic or pandemic or problem. I don't know. So if you are in a horrible marriage, one of you isn't holding up your side of the transaction. All right. I feel like, again, you blown my mind. And like, that's a clip in and of itself. The answer to divorce. This man is the answer to divorce, to your sad problems with your relationship. We should go into the Reddit sub, the relationship problems. There you go, everyone. There you go. Because
yeah, it's not about making a course or a guide or a book or something. It's whatever.
Well, it's niche. Well, I think this is great. So, all right. If all relationships are transactional, clearly there are people out there that use this for wrong. And that's why so many people are on the relationship problems subreddit, right?
Sure.
Or not wrong, but not nice.
I know what you mean.
Okay.
You can do business with a great local restaurant, or you can do business with some scammer. There's good and bad transactions. I'm not disputing that. You could have a relationship with some selfish, egotistical narcissist, or you could have a relationship with a loving, kind person who holds up their end of the transaction all the time.
Right. So one of the questions I had here was, which is kind of made me laugh now, but I want to know what you think. There's people out there that believe in divine, spiritual, true love, right? Like soul crushing, twin flamey kind of true love, right?
Sure.
And so those people would say that the love transcends more than the earthly plane.
Sure.
And that purely true love, like that real deep spiritual love, cannot be transactional.
No, it's even more
divine.
No, it's even more transaction.
Oh, here, y'all, he's about to zig. Okay, or zag. So please explain.
Well, like I said, all the divine parts of nature are super transactional.
Right?
Right? The flies take care of the hippo takes care of the flies. There you go. Or animals take a crap on the lawn, but the manure helps the plants. So there you go. And then the plants feed the animals again. So like they're all serving one another with perfect transactions. They all have a good relationship.
It's interesting because when you talk about the animal side of it, those things that you mentioned, it's like it's just natural for them. They don't think it through. They don't think it out. I want this for that.
No, where they naturally flow value.
Right.
Right. And so because they naturally flow value, they have good relationships with the world.
Yeah.
It's only people who refuse to naturally flow value and do what they're passionate about and flow their value and follow their nature that struggle and have shit relationships. If you just be yourself and follow your flow and follow your heart and do what is naturally called by your soul, then you get healthy relationships. Go look, go examine, go study anybody you want. You'll see this exact.
Right. I don't think anybody's paid attention, or maybe not too many people, maybe some people have paid attention to it in this way though. So to me, even though we've talked about this before, relationships are transactional, you're still explaining it on a different level. So I'm seeing a new perspective on it. So thanks. I love when I get to see a new perspective from you on a topic that we've already discussed. So this is really cool. Okay. So you said because that divine spiritual love is divine, that it's more transactional.
Yeah. Like nature.
Like nature.
Yeah.
So it's like nature. So then to nature, it's not even transactional. It's just normal. It's just part of what they do.
No, but nature is normally transaction. It doesn't make things without transactions.
Okay.
Like even a cosmic space rock, one orbits the other. Like one's gravity affects the other gravity. And so that gravity helps it stay stable. And the other gravity helps it stay stable. And they stay stable together. Or the sun radiates light, but the black hole absorbs light. And so like otherwise the light would bounce around the universe forever, like causing problems and unbalance the universe. But the black hole will balance it.
I got you. Okay.
And so black hole's happy because it gets to do black hole things. And the sun's happy because it gets to do sun things. And it's a perfect transaction.
All right. I got you. So this real, true, spiritual, deep twin flame love like we have.
Well, like imagine it. Imagine, fine. Let's say there's twin flames and two souls come to Earth and they're destined for great love or something. So you think they both show up and they're like, you don't have to provide me value and I'm not going to provide you value. And we're not going to transact anything because our love is so magical and special or something that it's devoid of value. And although everything in nature is all about flowing value back and forth from one being to another, our love has no value flow. And there is definitely no transactions happening and definitely no value flowing. And there's no checkboxes. And you are literally free to pull a 180 and become Hitler and we'll still be together because of our soulmate love. Like,
that sounds toxic.
I know. If dude becomes Hitler, then he stops checking all the boxes and he's not flowing the value and it's not a good fit. And those soulmates should separate. And it has nothing to do with divine love or whatever. Like the divine thing is to fulfill your purpose and serve others and flow value. And anything divine that you're looking at is going to do that.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. Thank you for explaining it that way, because when you first said it, I was like, I don't know. I wasn't sure. But yeah.
If you think we're soulmates, my soul came to Earth to see beauty. My soul came to Earth to reach the world and succeed in my mission. My soul came to impact others and raise people up. And if you're dragging me down, not being beautiful, not helping the mission, literally doing everything against that, how are we soulmates? Like, how is this a good transaction? How is value flowing for anyone? I mean, great, you get an awesome partner, but what do I get? Like, you can't just uncheck all the boxes and refuse to flow value and not hold up your end of the transaction and expect the relationship to thrive. I don't care what label you slap on it. You could call it the universe's most divine relationship ever. If it didn't fulfill any of that stuff, it's trash and it's going to wither and die.
Well, you make an excellent point when you say that. Like, when someone knows what they came to Earth for, when someone finds their purpose, when they've had their Kundalini awakened, right? And they know what they want, and then the other partner doesn't give it to them or tries and fails or gives up or whatever. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense why, like, the other person is like, the person who's not doing the thing is left wondering, why is this happening? I would do anything for it to fix it. But they're not holding up their side of the transaction, the agenda, the whatever. I think it's mostly, actually, because of this conversation, I think it's mostly a language thing too. I think people are caught up on the word transaction because that's what we talk about, like in business and when we're purchasing things and when we're exchanging money and when we're doing things more in a cold way. And so for me, this word feels like a very cold word. But when you explain it and when you talk about it, when you talk about nature and the naturalness of it, it's not the same. I don't have that same emotion of the word from just the word. So yeah.
Yeah, well, this is where lots of people's problems come from.
Yes.
They're all hung up on language, but I don't get why. If I went to another culture, this principle would still be true. If I went to Japan, it would still hold up. If I went to a pygmy tribe that has no language for money or transactions, the principle would still be true. So most of what I teach is language irrelevant. Like, I try to use the best words I can for it, but it doesn't even matter. The principle holds true. I could describe it with diagrams or demonstrate it in a primitive tribe, and it would still hold true. And so,
yeah,
if what I'm teaching is beyond language and always true or obviously true, why are people getting hung up on language? Like, what the hell?
Well, I think it's because that way they don't have to focus on the truth.
Exactly. So they're not even trying, right?
No.
You're not trying. If, as a student, you're not trying if you're nitpicking language when the principle is obvious across all cultures in the globe.
How many times did I get caught up on language in the beginning?
A lot.
And I nitpicked on the stupidest crap, even when you're just using examples just to make the point. I had nothing to do with me, but I felt like you were trying to hurt me, or you weren't even talking about me. And so I think that when the people that do get upset over the whole thing, the word transactional, it's just that, like, they're getting butt hurt and getting so upset over it because they know the truth deep down, but they don't want to admit that they're not holding up their end of the transaction in their relationship, whether it's their boss, their parents, their kids, or their spouse. And so they get triggered.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it, because to me, most of the truths that I teach are painfully obvious to anyone who bothers to look.
Yes.
If someone doesn't bother to look and wants to get hung up on language, that's fine. They'll suffer for it. Like, they will be far from an important truth that will help them because they're too busy being butthurt and nitpicking language of some kind. And I'm not going to spoon feed or babysit them a truth that is obvious to every culture who ever bothers to look.
Yeah.
Like, if the universe is slapping you over the head that all relationships are transactional and they will wither if you don't hold up your end of the transaction, like, why do I got to teach extra hard or extra good or go like try and spoon feed stuff to people? Like, the universe is already showing you. All of nature is already demonstrating this. I'm doing my best to explain it, but if you want to be an idiot, like, that's fine.
Well, my ex-husband and I like, just now I thought about it in, like, I mean, all relationships are transactional. I know because of this conversation and prior, but back then I didn't, right? And so when I was looking for happiness, when I was looking to be happy because I was finding these little tiny pockets of happiness, I was starting to learn how to be a better person and improve myself. And so I started kind of raising the bar a little, like, and sending him things and wanting him to improve. And he didn't hold up his end of the transaction, which was for us to move along at the same pace and direction. And, you and I have talked about this before, pace and direction. And I was going this way, and I really, really wanted him to follow me. And I said to him, and this was before you and I had met, and I even heard you mention pace and direction. And I said, I'm going this way. You're here, and I want us to go together. Please do something. And I gave things like resources and things, but he did not hold up his end of the transaction. And in the middle of our divorce and everything, he said to me, "You're acting like you're." I don't remember the exact words he used, but it was along to the effects of, "You're acting like this is a transaction, and why do I have to give you this for you to give me that?" And I really wish at the time that I had the words to, or even this episode to go here, this is why.
But deep down, everybody knows it's all give and take anyways.
Yeah.
So it's give and take. That's why you have to give something.
Well, this is why sometimes parents feel like all kids do is take, because we also need something. As they get older, it's more of that feeling. At least for me, it was. Even last night, I was annoyed.
That's because they don't teach their children that relationships are transactional and that the child will be destroying the relationship if they stop holding up their end of the deal.
I think one way people try to hold on to that or teach the transactional thing is the whole family is everything.
No, I think that's their way of avoiding the transactions. Like,
that's what, okay.
They don't want to give anything special or grow or be a better parent or change their jobs or take time away from work or whatever. They just want the kid to obey them.
Yes.
So family is everything is a way of saying, I don't want to apply myself and adjust my end of the transaction at all, but I want the children to adjust all kinds of things.
Yes, agreed.
Because as relationships grow and checkboxes change, you can adapt and conduct different transactions or handle transactions in a different way so that both people win and benefit, or you can just ignore that and see what happens. The relationship will wither, and then the parents and the kids will grow distant.
Well, it makes sense. This is really helpful, and I really wish I had understood this more when my kids were younger, right? And so that also that I didn't feel so that I didn't let them take, and because it would have stopped a lot of arguments and a lot of raging and a lot of silly fights. To understand that this whole thing that it's an agenda driven kind of, I guess not agenda driven, transactional driven.
It's value driven.
Value driven. Thank you. That's the word. Yes. And you told me once that the reason why parents and kids separate as they age is because the parents give tremendous value as kids are young, and then they get to a certain age, teenage years, and the parents always blame the kids for turning into a teenager or whatever, but they're trying to provide the same amount of value, but it's less valuable for the child.
Yeah, in the beginning, parents provide food, shelter, clothing, teachings, but by the time you're a teenager, you can get your own food, clothing, shelter, and teachings. So where's the value in the relationship? It's like, I've grown, man. I don't need all that stuff anymore. You got anything else, or you just useless now? You done? Like, as a parent, why didn't you grow too? Why don't you have more wisdom to share with a teenager? Why aren't you richer now? Like, why aren't you smarter now? Why don't you have a better relationship with your spouse now? Because if you improved in those areas, the kid would still want to know. They'd still be like, damn, you became a millionaire? I feel like there's more to learn here. And they'd want to spend time with you. Or if you fought with your spouse and then reunited and now you have a stronger relationship than ever, and your teenager is like having trouble with relationships, now they're going to come to you because you're valuable. You're a valuable teacher. And they're like, all right, the value's still flowing. So the transaction keeps going and the relationship keeps growing. But parents see it as like some kind of weird bank. Like if they deposit enough value in the early years, then they can sit back and coast in the later years and the kid will just hang around and the relationship will be fine. And it's like, that's like the flies cleaning the hippo for 10 years. And then like after a decade's up, suddenly the flies just stop and they hang around and they're like, yo, hippo, why aren't you protecting us from predators? Why are you slapping us away? And the hippo's like, dude, you stop cleaning.
Yeah.
And the flies are like, but we banked 10 years though, right? So now we get to coast for 10? It's like, what are you talking about? This is not how relationships work. Nature does not work like this. The cows can't just crap on the lawn for 10 years and then stop and be like, well, I'm just going to munch grass from now on. And I guess the food will keep coming. I don't have to fertilize nothing. Nature's like, no, you got to keep doing your thing. Keep the value flowing.
Well, this makes me understand my mom a little more. So thank you, because one of the things that kind of is always off-putting to me is how she wants to show love with money.
That's why she does it, because it's the only value she has left.
It makes total sense now.
Soon you won't need that, and she's going to feel like super bad, and your relationship's going to have like nothing to go off of.
Well, yeah, that's true too, but it's funny because I noticed it with my son. My son is 16, and he's not very close to his grandparents, but my daughters are. And anytime we've brought it up, it's always, well, he wasn't raised here, but the first 6 years he was in Ireland and blah, blah, blah. But I love him. And anytime he asks them for money, my parents they throw it at him, right?
Yeah, the girls' chance to get value.
The girls, not so much though, because they
value other things.
Well, they banked a whole bunch when they were little, right? Just like you were saying, they I don't have time to list all the stuff, but they gave so much financially and emotionally and all that stuff that now they don't really feel the need to do it anymore because they have that bank there. And they give to my son so much because they don't have that bank with him
But
in the same way.
You're in for a wake up call though, because you can't bank value in relationships.
Yeah.
The value has to continuously flow. Like food has to continuously flow or we starve. Well,
Yeah.
in relationships, value has to continuously flow or the relationship starts.
Well, I think that's why
You
she
can't bank
struggled.
food.
Yeah.
I mean, I
True.
guess you can. You could get like really giant and try to live off your own calories for a while, but it's not a good idea. Like this does not work well.
No, but it's super eye opening for me to understand her more, and I feel less frustrated even understanding this because understanding cures all, right? And so you're helping me understand my mom on another level, on a level where I have been super frustrated with her since I got here. Really, I get it. I really do. And so because she doesn't understand and she thinks that she has no more value to give, so she can't vocalize it that way, she's just gives money. I mean, I'm super grateful, and so are the kids, and of course. But yeah, it makes total sense, and also makes sense in my own relationship with my children why it has gone up and down like this with me with them, because I don't give them money. I occasionally some.
Sure. If you grow up with your kids and the transactions and values flowing are, you have time for them, you have a healthy body to play and run around with them, and you have money for them, and you have wisdom for them and teachings for them, that's a great foundation for a relationship, and they're going to love it, and they're going to give you all their love and whatever value they can. But as time goes, if suddenly you are sick now and injured now, and you don't have time and you don't have health to run around and keep up with them, and you don't have time to make for them, and maybe all you have left is money to give them, or you don't have wisdom anymore and you can't teach them any more lessons. It's like your value has drastically gone down, but they've actually gone up. They're smarter, they're wiser, they're better, they have skills, they have talents, they have dreams and ambitions, and they're like a valuable person to have around. They can do chores, they can take a load off your plate.
Yeah.
They can drive you around now. They're like, they're little productive, super valuable folks now. And so their value has gone up and the parents' value has gone down. And it's like, this is not great for the relationship. It's not a great situation. And I don't recommend it. If I was a parent raising a kid, I would be looking to level up my shit constantly to keep up with them. Because soon they're going to get 15 and 20 and 25 and 30, and they're going to have their own life. And I'm not going to have a lot left to teach them unless I level my shit up.
And I just want to point out to the audience and people who may not know, you're an incredible stepfather. So
thank you.
My son loves K-pop, and we know nothing about it. But when we go, and he also loves League of Legends. And so we've played with him before, me, Jay, and my son, and his friends too, even, and our friends too. And Jay always has some interesting question or conversation about the things my son likes, K-pop or Lady Gaga or AI or the whatever, like always has some valuable thing. And anytime that I also contribute to the conversation, whether it's when we're together or separate, about those things that he enjoys now, because I want to force the dance stuff on him because he's a dancer and send him dance videos that he ignores. But now what I do is send things that I know he likes and he engages in. Our transaction, I have kept my end up of the transaction, and he comes to me with questions. When he was depressed, he came to both. He didn't even want me. He wanted to go talk to Jay, And so this is, to me, proof. If my 16-year-old, who is a very interesting person and has lots of quirks and is very special and smart, can see the value of the transaction between the two of you, what you offer, your side of the transaction, and love you and want to talk to you in his most direst hour of need, that's impressive. You get the transaction, you get the value, you understand it, how to continually add value because you level yourself up all the time. I say I love miniatures and I want to make miniatures one day, which I'm obsessed with. Jay goes and says, what scales? And learns the scale out, the size of what I want. Oh, do you want 12 or 22? It's unreal. You're always leveling yourself up. I said the other night, I can't remember what it was, about the skincare or whatever. And immediately we were on the phone and I didn't even hear the little ting that I got a text, and we hung up and I look and there's like 3 subreddits that you sent me to help me, because this is leveling up your value and your transaction, your side of the transaction. So then what do I do when you do this? You show me, okay, I'm in the middle of our conversation. I'm still paying attention. I'm still talking. He didn't ignore me or nothing. No. Still fully in the conversation. Brings me resources. So what do? I want to level up my value and my transaction, my side of it. So I go and buy a gift, or I send him hot girl pictures because I know that's what he likes. And we like to surround ourselves with beauty. I mean, that's a whole other topic I think we could talk about on the podcast too. Your wife sending you nudie pictures of other women, but whatever. Point is, I level up my side of the value and transaction so that as you do it, I do it, and you do it and I do it. And this is why our relationship blossoms and grows. Yes, we've had issues, but every time that we've broken up, it's because you've leveled up your value, and I'm like, I'm gonna go over here and be dumb and not do that anymore. But the minute I start bringing more value and lifting myself up and adding the transaction, things are golden.
Makes total sense to me.
Well, I think you just saved lots of marriages. J Rise, the marriage whisperer. Yay!
Yay.
New title, new project. Let's pivot. Just kidding. Love you. Just kidding. Anyway, you are wonderful and amazing. I feel like I have learned even deeper about about relationships and transaction and value and all this wonderful stuff. You answered all my questions, though I did have a couple repeated ones. So because you were really good about answering. And our relationship is transactional too. Why? Because we have a book, Eyes Wide Open, Volume 1. It's the world's first self-help coffee table book. And it's transactional because you're watching the video and we're lifting the algorithm and you're commenting, and you're helping us and loving us. And we're giving you not only free, amazing resources on this podcast, but also the book. Go to eyeswideopenfree.com and download your free PDF copy of this amazing and wonderful book full of wonderful art, beautiful art, and incredible perspectives. It will help you relate better to your spouse and the world around you. And it's really pretty. So, Jay, thank you so much. I love you so much. You are super helpful and amazing. You are so valuable to me as my partner and my love and my guide and mentor. So thank you.
Hey, thank you.
I have one last question though. Do you have any final thoughts that you would like to share with our amazing and wonderful audience?
Mostly I'm imagining great relationships for everyone.
And that's why our book and this podcast are called Eyes Wide Open. After today, you'll know why all relationships are transactional, and you will no longer be triggered by this comment because you will understand. So now you can go to this video here called Relationships. What do men and women really want? To help you with your relationship and understand why it's transactional, because it's a relationship, and to help you keep your eyes wide open.
Keep rising.